Hi there. Welcome to my new channel, The Human Experience, where I will be talking about different aspects of our human journey each video, from our shared existential condition and circumstance to our existential purpose, potential, and capabilities, to the miraculous nature of the human experience, which for most is never discovered. Now, we can say with proof that our lives are not meant for something, nor can we say with certainty that our lives end with our failed dreams or our achieved successes or at the time of our death. We can't say that what we see is all that is real, or what we don't see and acknowledge is not affecting us. Yet as a society and as a people, we've accepted the reality of our material world as the truth and put all of our trust into this world that sits on top of the natural world. We've anchored our beliefs, decisions, desires, and pursuits in the material world. And as a result, we've lost connection to our true selves, to each other, and to the natural and spiritual worlds, no longer anchored within our hearts. We have, for the most part, accepted the social narrative of what is real and not real, what can be trusted or not trusted, how we discern truth from falsity, and how we make decisions about our lives. This means that our lives as civilians serve the social narrative that is based in the material world, which both science and spirituality have claimed to be illusory and non-permanent, like an optical illusion. The more we have evolved as a civilization, developing social systems and one industry after the next to serve a proposed need in society, the more our focus as people has become externalized, externalizing our pains and problems and externalizing solutions to those problems. In this process, we manufacture new desires and needs beyond our innate ambitions and then externalize the fulfillment of those desires and needs. And it's easy to see. Let's look at commerce, for instance. The more services and products that have been created, the more people that suddenly have a need and problem to fit those services and products. But before those services and products were invented, people were not even often aware that they had a so-called lack in those areas. Look at the developing service industries over the last many decades. The more hospitals that went up, the more sick people we've seen walking into clinics. The more medications we've created, the more symptoms that have emerged. The more private prisons that have gone up, the more inmates we've had. And this is true across all industries. The more law enforcement we've created, the more offenses that have been written. The larger the stock market and the bigger the banks, the more financial problems and poverty we see. Now, I support social systems and the free market with the right accountability and integrity. But we cannot deny there's a whole lot of nonsense being sold to the public. Not all services and products or marketers are in integrity. Take sham marketers, for instance. They manufacture a desire and need by making false claims and promises, driving people to buy into things or to buy things that are erroneous and bad, such as addictive things, or things that are made out of plastic or other toxic chemicals that are harmful to people and the environment, based on instant gratification, immediate gains, and bogus reporting. Rather than going within ourselves, our family unit, and our community, and deciding for ourselves what kinds of things are best for our children's development, what kinds of foods, products, and material goods we truly need, and what kinds of information and skills are in our best interest, we turn our consciousness over to material world ads to decide for us. And I'll mention skills and abilities here too. Not only are we outsourcing our decisions about what to bring into our lives, we are outsourcing our skills and abilities as well. For instance, forgoing the need to learn how to grow our own food, make our own clothes, build our own shelters, assemble our own water and energy systems, to even raising our own kids and solving our own problems. And we've outsourced modern day skills too, like not knowing how to fix our own appliances, electronics, or automobiles, to finding our own jobs or managing our own financial portfolios. Now, it makes sense that we would specialize in different trades and that we would work together as a society. But when all of those trades are outsourced to the same centralized corporations, and all we know how to do is consume everything in excess, but we can't do anything for ourselves, we will wake up one day and we will find that all of our human abilities, our human rights, and our knowledge has been wiped from our consciousness. It seems the more we've advanced ourselves in the material world, the more disconnected we've become from ourselves, each other, nature, as well as higher wisdom and divine guidance. The pain and suffering, division and chaos, toxicity and disease, and concerns and crisis have worsened across all ecosystems of life. With one solution discovered, another problem arises. With every breakthrough, we experience another breakdown. It's just that we've become better at rationalizing the issues, evading the suffering, hiding the toxicity, and projecting the crisis so as to safeguard our sense of security, comfort, happiness, and fulfillment. Due to the instant gratification and immediate benefits of the material world, we allow ourselves to turn an eye on the larger existential circumstance that we all face. We allow ourselves to become consumed and obsessed by material world things, and we allow ourselves to become enchanted by our ego or our alter ego's desires and pursuits. And as a result, we end up creating more severe and life-threatening crisis. And we might not see it all on the surface at once because it is brewing underground, and so we only feel the effects until one day, if things go ignored for too long, it becomes too late. And unfortunately, for millions of people, it was too late, and they died an early death. Just like the phenomenon of addiction, which I will be speaking a lot about. When we turn to the external world to resolve internal crisis, we miss the point, give away our power, and suffer more later. Now, as I understand it, every generation faces crisis that taunts the minds of people, pains their bodies, divides their heart, and disconnects their spirit. Although these scenarios look different on the surface, the reality is individual crisis and collective crisis is a part of the human experience. As the human experience exists in the material world, which is constantly magnetizing, if not spellbinding, to our consciousness and energy, we are thus pulled from our true nature. And in this disconnection or separation, when we've been absent from ourselves, symptoms will naturally manifest into problems, and unresolved problems will manifest into crisis. But this shows to be an expected occurrence, that when things get hard, that we would lose ourselves in the material world. It is just so tempting. So, how do we differentiate between the expected and inevitable circumstances inherent within this human experience and the added, unnecessary, and avoidable circumstances that we've brought upon ourselves in this life? How much of human suffering is foreordained or just inescapable? Versus how much of the suffering, division, and chaos is added to our human lives due to our way of being in this life? I think we all understand that life is hard and that there will be suffering at each phase in life. The question is, how is our response to life's inevitable circumstance and hardships supporting us to move through these obstacles with ease and grace and with learning and growth? Versus, how are our responses not only to life's challenges, but also life's enticement, making things worse for ourselves, our communities, and the world around us? In short, how are we perpetuating the suffering? Now, I will unpack the fundamental conditions of being alive and the inevitable hardships that we face as humans in a video to come. I think that it's important that we get honest with ourselves about the fundamental conditions, challenges, and struggles that we will inevitably face during our human journey, so that we do not pathologize, victimize, ostracize, or aggrandize issues that we just know we're probably going to face at some point. This also helps us to identify when additional issues cycle into our life unnecessarily based on our own doing. For instance, heartbreak. Heartbreak is something we all face. Loss in the human world is inevitable, but a series of heartbreaks might suggest that a person is stuck on something and perpetuating their own suffering. Heartbreak itself is a natural occurrence, but an ongoing series of heartbreaks may not be a natural occurrence. When we are not in touch with the existential conversation, that is, real talk about the hardships and purpose of life and best ways to navigate life, we misinterpret the experience, and then we turn to external fixes, leading us deeper into bewilderment. So, saving the fundamental conditions of life for another time, let's look now at some major points of crisis that we face today. Regardless of theoretical causes, we can all see it, we can all feel it, and we can all sense it. Existential crisis hovers over us. Whether we choose to acknowledge the fear, the pain, the conflict, the depravity, or the crisis that's within and around us, or whether we busy our minds in life in attempt to avoid and escape it. The reality is, our existential circumstance presents original crisis, and on top of that, we can easily exacerbate and create more crisis. So, let's look at 8 categories of existential crisis all humans face. And unfortunately, this is not an exhaustive list. Number 1, we have a crisis of sustainability, with concerns over our air, water, and food quality, and with concerns of depleting our natural resources and destroying ecosystems. We are not being stewards of the natural world, we are exploiting it. Number 2, we have a crisis of physicality, not only due to our own mortality and dependencies upon certain conditions to survive, but also the magnitude of illness and disease, accident and injury, disability and immobility, and the side effects of malpractice and false cures. Our strength and immunity starves. Number 3, we have a crisis of consciousness, not only limited by our 5 sensory perception, but by the programming of false narratives we have been subjected to, disabling our awareness and discernment. Number 4, we have a crisis of spirituality, disconnected from divinity and spirit, many say, with a diminished or diluted sense of spiritual purpose and meaning, which has taken us further from our heart nature, lowering our vibration and ambitions, and perpetuating our amnesia. Number 5, we have a crisis of materialism, whereby people are conditioned to consume in excess regardless of the consequence, and anchored so deeply in the external world, our intentions and behaviors are run by our attachments and addictions, taking us further into the illusion and toward our own demise. Number 6, we have a crisis of governance, with layers of compartmentalized systems, each with their own private interests and agendas. And this deception and disparity divides us as people, creating a number of threats to everyone's security and well-being. Number 7, we have a crisis within our own humanity, disconnected and divided by judgments and resentments, pride and greed, and human-created traumas and adversity. As individuals break down, families break down, and communities break down, and everybody becomes for themselves over others, and our social emotional maturity and character fails to develop, leaving people in ruins. And number 8, we have a crisis of livelihood, with on the one hand, our dependency on work to survive, but on the other hand, jobs becoming obsolete with the rise in technology, and the automation and outsourcing of jobs resulting in the lack of skills and abilities being developed by civilians, creating more dependencies on external things to take care of us, which lowers ambitions and creates entitlement and sometimes laziness. Now, of all of these crises, regardless of original causes, and regardless of how we might each define them specifically, what I have to say about this is welcome to the human experience. These are the conditions that we face. This is our reality. And this is a reality that at some level we have all co-created. And I'd say the worst part of all of it is that we are not having the existential conversation about what it all means and how we can, on an individual level, awaken and transform ourselves to make sure that we are doing right by our human experience. Instead, we complain about what's wrong with the world and everybody else and fail to look at ourselves. As a result, we as a people are dying before our time and failing to awaken to the journey of our true self. And this is on us. Too many people are dying every second by our own doing, not just by natural causes. And as a result, people are not discovering their truth, and they are not fulfilling their mission and purpose for being here. This means that all this pain and suffering, hardship and adversity, and war and deaths are happening for nothing. We are not yielding from it. And if this is true, one could say we are losing the battle. Now, these existential crises have always been, and for all we know, they will always be. And the degree to which we can end suffering and the threats to our existence are not known. But we can examine our conditioned response to these life circumstances and the effect that our conditioned response has in relation to the crises that we face today. Whether we can change the events in this world is not known, but we can change ourselves. And that is what this channel is all about. So, how do humans change their course in life? How do we unplug from the conditioning of society? At what level of our humanity does change begin? There is definitely controversy over whether change must happen in society first and then individuals can heal and change, or whether we must change on an individual level to change the whole. Either way, who can change the whole? Can you do it? Can I do it? Can the presidents of the world, the kings and queens, the rich and famous, the spiritual masters and teachers, can they do it? Or will they do it? Who can do it? I don't know. But what I do know is that I can change myself and you can change yourself. Change starts with awareness and having the existential conversation about our shared existential circumstance, looking at how we are responding to our life circumstance and what our conditioned response is getting us. For instance, are we playing our cards, the hand that we were dealt, the best that we can? Are we facing the core issues, healing our traumas, transforming our karma, improving ourselves, purifying our bodies, and raising our consciousness and vibration? Are we evaluating what does our life serve? What has our focus? What consumes our energy? What are we doing to make ourselves and the world a better place versus not? Are we identifying the cause of suffering and what we might be doing to perpetuate suffering? Are we investigating where our power is and what it will take to come into alignment with our truth and personal power? These are all questions that we must ultimately determine for ourselves. In general, the process of change asks us to develop our self-awareness, to start to think for ourselves, to authenticate what we hold as truth in this life, because that truth becomes the foundation for all of our decisions and actions and what we yield in this life. And then from this point of personal awakening and centering, it becomes a journey of integration and cultivation. Now, in part 2 of this pilot series, I will discuss more about the existential circumstance and our conditioned engagement response to our existential circumstance and the process of personal awakening to the journey of the true self. My role is to engage the existential conversation and to provide information to support a deeper investigation into the power and potential inherent in the human experience. But I cannot speak with absolute truth, for it is up to each of us to determine for ourselves what our life means and what our life will serve. My expertise regards transformational work and the process of change, the recovery from addiction and other states of mental suffering, the use of transformational tools such as entheogenic or psychedelic therapies, as well as refining and cultivating ourselves as we develop our support role to help others. So, lots of great stuff to come. If you enjoyed my first video, please like and comment below and tell us what you think, and thank you for watching.